My name is Leona Dudley. I'm 35 years old, a freelance photographer from Portland, Oregon, the quiet youngest daughter in a family that only ever applauded the loudest voice. While my sister Odessa was raised to believe she was destined for spotlights and runways, I built my life behind a lens, working alone, paying my own bills, staying invisible enough not to cause trouble. I was never the favorite, never the investment, always the afterthought, and somewhere along the way I learned to mistake that for independence. I told myself I didn't care, that distance was freedom, that my work was enough, until the day I came home and realized the tools that defined my life had vanished, sold off without my consent for someone else's dream. That was the moment I understood this wasn't just betrayal. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous. And it started with a phone call that should never have been made. The lock was new, shiny, brass, out of place on the closet door I never locked. I stood still, rain dripping from the hem of my jacket, breath caught between irritation and a deeper, sharper feeling. That gear was everything: my Leica, my red Komodo, lenses, stabilizers, hard drives. My livelihood, my leverage. I jiggled the handle once, then harder. Click. It swung open. Empty. Not stolen, stripped. Everything gone except a lone white envelope taped to the inside wall. My name scrawled in my mother's tight, slanted cursive. You'll understand soon. Odessa needed help. Don't overreact. I blinked. No receipts. No explanation. No apology. My pulse rose in waves. I dialed. She picked up on the second ring, voice honey slick and too calm. Leona, sweetie. You're back early. Don't worry, it went to a good cause. What did you do? Odessa's going to Fashion Week. You should be proud. You sold my gear. My throat tightened. You had no right. Her sigh was theatrical. You said you were looking into switching to digital only. I never said that. You must have. I remember it clearly. I didn't scream. I hung up. By morning, the nausea hadn't left. People talk about betrayal like it's a knife. It's not. It's more like mold. Silent. Creeping. Growing in the dark while you're too busy working overtime to notice. I drove to the pawn shop listed on my credit statement. Small, tucked between a vape store and a payday loan outlet. Smelled like metal and shame. The man behind the glass looked up, his eyes narrowing slightly. You the one with the cameras? I nodded. You got ID? I slid it over. He looked once, then again, pulled something from the drawer. A copy of a Washington State driver's license. My name. My photo. Except it wasn't me. My heart stopped. This is what came in with the gear, he said. Didn't sit right. Thought maybe I'd call. Who signed the release? He flipped the form. My signature, forged perfectly. I stared at it, at the name beneath, Walter Dudley. My father. That man in the footage, I whispered. The clerk turned to the back room. He's not my father. The pawn shop smelled like old copper and desperation. The owner, mid-60s, thick glasses, cautious, didn't look me in the eye when he handed me the copy of the ID. The name said Leona Dudley. The photo wasn't mine. The signature was. Perfectly forged. Who brought this in? I asked, already knowing I wouldn't believe the answer. He pointed to the back room, then clicked on the monitor. Grainy footage. A man. Gray hair. Walking slow, too confident to be nervous. Walter Dudley. My father. Except it wasn't him. Not quite. The posture was wrong. The rhythm off. I leaned closer. That's not my dad. The shopkeeper hesitated. It matched the ID, but I figured something was off. Cut scene. Rain. Streetlight glare. My hands on the steering wheel, knuckles white. I couldn't feel my fingers. Not just betrayal. Conspiracy. My own name was now a weapon. At home, the house was too quiet. Odessa's room was dark but open. Her perfume clung to the hallway. Expensive, sharp, like something burning under sugar. I knocked once on my parents' bedroom door. "Come in," my mother called. Inside, soft lamplight, cable news on mute, her reading some magazine about resort properties. I stood in the doorway, cold air in my lungs. "Who did you send to pawn my gear?" She looked up, then down, casual. "You said you were moving into more digital work." "I never said that." "You said you wanted to travel light." "That was a year ago during wildfire season. I didn't say sell everything I own." Dad looked up from his recliner. "Calm down, Leona." I saw the footage. Silence. I threw the fake ID on the floor. My mother's eyes didn't even flicker. "You forged my signature." "No," she said softly. "Someone else did. For you. For all of us." That was the first time I felt it. The real drop. The moment gravity tilted. "Who?" "Someone who helps families like ours." The phrase echoed, ugly and bureaucratic. "Helps. You wouldn't understand. You've never had to protect a legacy." That line. So clean. So smug. "I protect myself," I said. "Apparently that's more than any of you do." Cut. The office. My files. Something had been moved. I pulled out a red folder from my locked drawer. I always alphabetized. D for Disley. Financial records. Lease. Tax documents. But something else had been slipped in. A copy of a notarized document. Power of attorney. Authorizing access to all my assets, gear, accounts, contracts. Signed, Leona Disley. Date, 3 weeks ago. I didn't remember signing anything that week. I was in Rainier. No internet. No calls. The notary was from Bellevue. For hours away. The stamp looked legit. I scanned it again. One tiny inconsistency. My middle initial was missing. I always include my middle name on legal forms. Always. Cut. Call to Natalie. "I need you," I said. She didn't ask why. 15 minutes later, her car pulled into my driveway. Her jaw was tight. She'd brought a GoPro and a notepad. "Something's wrong," she said, even before I could explain. "I got a call this morning from one of the galleries. They're pulling out. Someone's been emailing them, saying you've stolen other people's work." "What?" "And that's not all. Your name is on some list. Can't book studio rentals anymore. They're blacklisting you." My vision tunneled. "They're not just stealing from me," I whispered. "They're erasing me." Natalie said nothing, just turned on the GoPro and pointed it at the document. "Start recording everything," she said. "If they're building a file, we'll build one louder." We flipped through the rest of the documents. 2 pages in, I found a sticky note tucked behind a receipt. "Tell her before it's too late. She'll forgive you. Vous." It wasn't my father's handwriting. Natalie looked at me. "Who's W?" I didn't answer, because suddenly I wasn't sure. Not about anything. If my name can be stolen, so can my life. New York never sleeps. It stalks. I felt at the moment I stepped out of Penn Station. The pressure, the eyes, the sense that every reflection in glass was a witness that hadn't decided whose side it was on. Cut. Hotel lobby. Too bright. Too clean. I checked in under my real name anyway. If they were already coming, hiding wouldn't save me. Someone once said the fastest way to lose yourself is to keep running. I needed to stop long enough to see the shape of the trap. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Another buzz. Text this time. Check your email. Now. I opened it. One attachment. No sender. A bank statement. Account holder. Leona Disley. Bank. Midtown Federal Credit Union. Balance. $412,870.23. I stared at the screen. My breath went shallow. I didn't have that kind of money. I never had. Scroll. Transaction history exploded down the page. Wire transfers. Sponsor deposits. Brand partnerships tied to Fashion Week. All routed through shell companies, all funneled into that account. money laundering. And my name was sitting right on top of it, like a signature on a confession. Cut. Bathroom mirror. Fluorescent light. My face looked wrong. Too still. I splashed water, watched it run down the sink like something trying to escape. People don't go to prison for what they know. They go for what they sign. I called Natalie. They built an account, I said, in my name. If this flags, you'll be the one they arrest, she finished. No panic. Just fact. Okay. Then we move fast. Another vibration. Room service cart rolling past. Harmless. My heart didn't believe that. I pulled up Odessa's Instagram. Public. Of course. Fashion Week stories. Champagne flutes. Flashbulbs. Tag location, Tribeca. Private after-party tonight. She looked flawless. Untouchable. Someone once said success is just crime with better lighting. Odessa had always understood that. Cut. Evening. Rain again. I blended in with the press outside the venue. Borrowed jacket. Borrowed confidence. I didn't need a camera to know how to frame a shot. I watched the exits. Counted security. That's when I felt it. The pressure at my back. A man brushed past me. Too close. Leather jacket. The same gait. Same rhythm. The man from the pawn shop footage. I turned. Gone. I moved. Fast. Subway entrance. Down the stairs. The smell of damp concrete and electricity. Turnstile. Swipe. Mississippi, swipe again. Footsteps behind me. I ran. Platform. Crowded. Train screaming into the station. I pushed through bodies, breath tearing out of my chest. A hand grabbed my wrist. I twisted. Elbowed. Hard. He grunted. I bolted. Doors slammed shut inches from my face. The train roared off without me and took him with it. I stood there shaking, heart trying to break free of my ribs. By sunrise, I would either disappear or be erased. Cut. Back at the hotel, something was waiting for me. A package. No return address. Just my room number. Written clean and deliberate. Inside, a USB drive. I didn't plug it in right away. I watched the door, listened to the hallway, counted breaths. When nothing happened, I used a burner laptop Natalie had mailed overnight. The footage loaded. My apartment. Angles I didn't recognize. Corners I never noticed. Hidden cameras. I watched myself come and go. Watched my parents move through my space when I wasn't there. My mother opening drawers. My father standing still, like he was waiting for permission he never got. Then Odessa. She moved like she owned the place. Sat on my bed. Tried on my jacket. Smiled at the camera. At one point, she leaned in close to the lens and said, softly, almost kindly, "You never see it coming when it's family." The file date was weeks old. My phone rang. Odessa. I answered. "You look tired," she said. Music pulsing behind her. Laughter. "You should have stayed in Oregon." "You built the account," I said. A pause. Then laughter. "I built an exit," she corrected. "You're just standing in front of it." "You used my name." "You never wanted it," she said. "Your name. Your visibility. You hid." I stepped forward. "You're going to prison." "No," she said calmly. "You are." She hung up. Cut. Rooftop. Tribeca. Night air thick with heat and perfume. I found her near the edge. City spread behind her like a promise. She turned before I spoke. A blade flashed, small, hidden in a jeweled hairpin. Her smile didn't falter. "You gave them everything," she said, voice low and steady. "Now I'm taking what's left." Sirens cut through the night like blades. Red, blue, red again. Odessa vanished into the crowd the second the alarm started. Heels flashing, hairpin gone, smile erased. People screamed. Someone knocked into me hard enough to steal my breath. Security surged toward the rooftop, shouting commands no one listened to. I ran. Stairs. Fire door. Down, down, lungs burning. My phone vibrated nonstop in my pocket, like a second pulse trying to escape my body. Outside, rain slapped my face, neon smeared across the pavement. I ducked into an alley and finally answered. Leona. Natalie's voice was tight, too controlled. You need to listen carefully. I'm listening. Federal agents were at your apartment an hour ago. Treasury and DOJ. They flagged the shell account. Money laundering, wire fraud, interstate conspiracy. The words hit in sequence. 1, 2, 3. I didn't open that account. I know, but it's under your SN. If you're still in New York, you're on borrowed time. A trash can rattle behind me. I turned. Nothing. People say paranoia is irrational. That's only true when you're wrong. I moved. Subway entrance. Down again. The city swallowed me whole. On the platform, I felt it before I saw it. The same pressure, the same wrongness. The man in the leather jacket stood at the far end, pretending to scroll on his phone. He wasn't scrolling. He was counting. Doors opened. I jumped in. He followed. Inside the car, bodies packed tight, heat rising, metal screeching. I shifted positions twice. He mirrored me. I caught my reflection in the window. Eyes too wide, breath too fast. Someone once said, fear sharpens the mind or breaks it. I forced mine to sharpen. At the next stop, I bolted. He grabbed my sleeve. I twisted, drove my elbow back, felt it connect with something soft. He cursed. I slipped through closing doors just as they slammed between us. The train pulled away. I didn't wait to see if he stayed behind. I surfaced blocks away, rain-soaked and shaking. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Voicemail. A woman's voice. Calm. Familiar. Leona, sweetheart. You should come home. You're making this worse than it needs to be. My mother. Cut. Hotel room. Curtains drawn. Lights off. I pushed a chair under the handle, knowing it wouldn't stop anyone who really wanted in. I replayed the USB footage. Again. Slower. Metadata. Timestamps. GPS tags. Odessa had accessed my apartment 6 times in the last month. Always late. Always alone. I froze on one frame. Her reflection. In the mirror behind her. Holding a burner phone. The screen lit up. Incoming call. Contact name, MOM. My stomach dropped. I called Natalie back. It's not just Odessa, I said. My mother's running point. Natalie exhaled, slowly. That tracks. She always played chess, while everyone else played checkers. I laughed once. Short. Hysterical. I'm not running, I said. I'm done disappearing. Then we go public, Natalie said. We force daylight. Daylight gets people killed. So does silence. Another buzz. Text this time. Brooklyn. 3 a.m. come alone. Or the account goes public. A location pin followed. Abandoned industrial block. Red flag territory. I checked the time. 2:14 a.m. People like to say you always have a choice. What they mean is you always have consequences. I went. The building was dead. Windows boarded. One light flickering inside like a failing heartbeat. I stepped in. The smell hit first. Old chemicals. Dust. Ghosts of ink and developer fluid. A photography studio once, maybe. Now a shell. Odessa's voice echoed from the dark. You always did have good instincts. Shame you never trusted them. She stepped into the light. Calm. Perfect. Like this was just another fitting. You're wearing a wire, she asked. No. Too bad. She circled me, slowly. Predator's patience. You think you're the victim, she said. But you were always the shield. The quiet one. The believable one. You set me up to go to prison. She shrugged. You would have survived. You always do. Something moved behind her. A camera. Natalie's voice crackled through the speakers. Smile. Red light blinked on. Odessa's face changed. Sirens wailed outside. Not police. Not yet. Something else. I took a step back as shadows filled the doorway. By sunrise, I would either disappear or be erased. Odessa ran. I didn't chase. Outside, the sound of sirens echoed but never landed. A warning shot. Not rescue. Not yet. I stood alone in the half-lit studio. My shadow cast against cracked, white backdrops and rusting tripods. The ghosts of better shoots, better times. The camera hidden in the corner blinked red. Natalie's voice crackled in my earpiece. It's live. They've got the feed. I moved to the center of the room. Breathe. Count. 1 second. Then the next. You okay? She asked. No, I said. But I'm not lost. Cut. A drawer. Bottom shelf. I yanked it open. Inside, a leather folder. Thick. Warm from a heat lamp that hadn't been touched in years. I flipped it open. Passports. Plural. Odessa. Nadine. Same surname. Different first names. Canadian IDs. Stamped, laminated, perfect. I pulled out a flash drive taped to the back cover. Plugged it into the burner laptop. The folder auto-opened. Transactions. Months of them. Digital footprints. Odessa had been laundering money through fake nonprofits, emerging artist grants, all under my name. Every deposit tied to an invoice I never wrote. And every invoice stamped, authorized, L. Dudley. I felt my throat close. My mother's voice played back in my head. You wouldn't understand. You've never had to protect a legacy. Some people inherit trauma. Others inherit strategy. Cut. Odessa's voice outside the building, yelling. She hadn't run far, just circled back. Of course she had. Leona, be smart, she shouted. This isn't going to end how you think. I walked to the front door. Didn't open it. You framed me. You sold my name. Because you wouldn't use it, she screamed. You hid behind it, like a child with a safety blanket. I said nothing. The truth didn't need my voice. Natalie patched in again. Feds want confirmation. Do you have physical assets? Copying now. She paused. You need to get out before she breaks in. I turned. Odessa was already inside. Cut. She moved like she was walking a runway. Calm. Controlled. Blade hidden in her hand again. The jeweled hairpin. You think this ends with cameras, she said. You think they care? I think they'll care about Cayman accounts under federal grant names. She flinched, just slightly. Then she smiled. You learned, didn't you? Finally. From the best, I said. Unfortunately for you. Odessa lunged. I stepped back. She slashed at the air. Missed. Glass shattered behind me. I grabbed the light stand. Swung. It hit her arm. Not hard. Just enough. The blade clattered to the floor. She grabbed my hair, yanked. I fell. Elbow hit concrete. Blinding flash. She was on top of me. Hands around my throat. And then, flash. Real flash. The studio camera. The one I'd left running. It triggered on motion and heat. Flash. Flash. Odessa blinked. I kneed her in the ribs. She screamed. I scrambled. Reached the folder. Pulled the drive free. Ran. Behind me, Odessa screamed again. I made you, she shrieked. Everything you are is because of me. I turned just once. You erased me. But I remember. Cut. Outside, the street was lit. 2 unmarked black SUVs. Federal agents in windbreakers. One raised a hand. I stepped into the light. My voice shook. She's inside. The files are on this. The agent nodded. Step back. Behind me. Odessa banged on the glass door like a trapped animal. The agent clicked his radio. Confirming visual. Go. Doors slammed. Boots hit pavement. Weapons drawn. I backed into the sidewalk, chest heaving. Natalie's voice came through again. You got her. You got it all. My hand trembled. No, I whispered. Not all. I looked down at the folder again. Tucked beneath the flash drive was a second slip of paper. A wire transfer receipt. Not to Odessa. To Nadine Dudley. From a numbered Swiss account. Time-stamped 48 hours ago. The memo line read, Final phase begins. Do not contact L. The flash went off, and this time everyone was watching. The courthouse smelled like old paper and quiet power. 3 weeks since the arrest. 1 week since Odessa pled not guilty. 2 days since federal prosecutors unsealed the sealed accounts. And 42 minutes into a hearing where the only person not sweating was the judge. I sat still in the front row. Not with family. Not with press. Alone. Natalie leaned toward me, whispering, You still haven't told me what you're going to do with it. I didn't answer. Not yet. The USB drive in my coat pocket felt heavier than a weapon. Because that's what it was now. Proof, leverage, closure. Or chaos. Ms. Dudley, the judge said. Odessa stood. Hair tied. Face bare. The image of clean innocence. The projection screen lit up. Bank records. Invoices. Her signature. Then mine, copied, pasted, forged. A hollow breath behind me. My mother. She hadn't spoken to me since that night. She hadn't looked me in the eye. Now, when the screen showed a second transfer to a name she once used in a passport decades ago, her hand flew to her mouth. Secrets don't protect families. They poison them slowly. I used to think loyalty meant silence. That blood was thicker than betrayal. That love could justify theft. But it doesn't. Odessa broke. Not just the law. She broke truth. Broke me. Cut. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed. I didn't stop. I walked fast down the marble stairs. Natalie followed. You're not going to the press? No. You're not releasing the footage? No. She grabbed my arm. Why? I paused. Turned. Because power isn't just having the last word. It's choosing not to speak it. That night, I opened the folder one last time. The slip of paper with Nadine's name. A transfer of $1.2 million. I cross-checked the account. Frozen. Flagged. The Swiss bank would cooperate. Quietly. An investigation already underway. Odessa's plea would likely shift. My mother. Maybe she'd face charges, maybe not. Either way, this family was over. But families don't end in courtrooms. They end in kitchens. Phone calls not returned. Birthdays skipped. Empty chairs. I walked to the darkroom. My hands trembled as I loaded film. Real film. No digital edits. No filters. One shot. Then another. Natalie had once told me, sometimes the only way to expose someone is through light. She meant photography. I think I misunderstood. 2 months later, my work was featured at a small gallery downtown. Negative space was the theme. Images of empty chairs. Shadows in doorways. A torn photo split down the center. People cried, whispered, moved on. One woman stayed behind. Mid-40s. Wore regret like perfume. My mother. She didn't speak. Just stared at a black and white photo of Odessa and me as kids. I'd cut it with an X-Acto blade. Clean line. Unhealed. She finally turned to me. I didn't know how to protect you. I nodded. That's not an excuse anymore. I don't expect forgiveness. Good. She left. Cut. Weeks passed. I got my gear back. Some of it damaged. Some of it untouched. It didn't matter. I wasn't the girl behind the lens anymore. I was the woman who pulled focus. There's a kind of silence that follows war. Not peace. Just the absence of screams. It's where healing begins. But healing isn't soft. It's jagged. Loud. It burns before it soothes. Truth isn't something you find. It's something you survive. And sometimes survival looks like walking away, not to run, but to reclaim space. My story didn't end in that courtroom. It started there, because power is quiet, and revenge is overrated. But clarity? Clarity is everything. And for the first time in my life, I saw myself clearly, sharp, framed, and finally in focus.